The key rattled in the lock, a sound that usually brought a sense of homecoming, now just echoed in the cavernous space. I pushed the door open, expecting the usual chaos of Sarah's everything. But there was nothing. Just the pale afternoon light filtering through the blinds, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. An unnatural stillness hung heavy, a stark contrast to her ever-present energy. My gut clenched. This wasn't just her running late. This was different. The air felt vacant, devoid of her perfume, her clothes strewn haphazardly. The music she always blasted. It was as if she'd been erased. Except her absence amplified the silence, pressing down on me, a physical weight mirroring the decision I'd made weeks ago. I stepped further inside, the floorboards creaking under my weight, each sound a stark reminder of the emptiness. Where the hell was she? The silence was a trigger, sending me spiraling back. Sarah. Christ, Sarah. I met her at that tech conference downtown. She was vibrant, magnetic, a whirlwind of confidence in a room full of awkward coders. I was instantly hooked. Different. I told myself. Not like the others. And maybe she was, at first. She laughed at my jokes, seemed genuinely interested in my work, and made me feel seen. That's what they all do, right? But the red flags were there, subtle at first. The way she'd casually mention needing help with rent, her tendency to overspend on clothes and nights out. The constant need for validation from her Instagram followers. I ignored them, blinded by the initial infatuation. I even passed on a promotion to stay local, because long distance never works. She'd said, batting her eyelashes. Dumbass. Looking back, that hoodie should have been a goddamn warning siren. It was my favorite, a worn, comfortable thing from college, nothing special. But it smelled like home. One day, I noticed she was wearing it, stretched out and looking impossibly cute, or so I thought at the time. Comfy, she'd purred, snuggling into it. Then it became her hoodie. I'd ask for it back, and she'd give me that wounded puppy dog look, the one that always made me cave. But it's so warm, she'd whine, pulling it tighter around herself. It sounds insignificant, I know, a stupid hoodie. But it was a symbol of how she slowly started taking pieces of me, claiming them as her own, and how easily I let her. Possessiveness disguised as affection. It wasn't just the hoodie, though. That was just the tip of the iceberg. There were the little lies, claiming she was working late when her Instagram showed her at a bar with the girls. The financial stuff, unexplained ATM withdrawals. New clothes appearing constantly, her forgetting to pay her share of the rent, always relying on me to cover it. I'd bring it up, gently, and she'd turn on the waterworks. Accuse me of being controlling, of not trusting her. And like a goddamn idiot, I'd apologize. The unease grew, a constant gnawing in the back of my mind. Something was off, but I couldn't put my finger on it. I wanted to believe her, to trust her, but the inconsistencies were piling up, brick by brick, building a wall between us. Then came the girl talks. Sarah was always on the phone with her friends, supposedly venting about work, about her family, about me. I usually tuned it out, figuring it was just female bonding bullshit. But one night, I came home early, and the walls in that apartment were thin. I heard her, clear as day, laying out the strategy. He's such a sucker, she giggled. I can get him to do anything. Just bat my eyes. You know, the casual cruelty of it hit me like a punch to the gut. They were dissecting me, strategizing how to manipulate me further, how to extract more resources, more attention, more everything. Suddenly, all those innocent conversations took on a sinister new meaning. So, what did I do? Nothing. That's the pathetic part. I pretended I hadn't heard anything. I went into the bedroom, feigned sleep, and let her come in later, all smiles and fake affection. Why? Because I was a coward. Because I didn't want to rock the boat. Because I was still clinging to the illusion of what I thought we had. And maybe a little bit because of that ingrained, traditional male programming. The provider. The protector. The one who fixes things. Confronting her meant admitting I'd been played, that I'd been a fool. It was easier to bury my head in the sand and hope it would all go away. Fucking idiot. Of course. Social media played a starring role in all this. Sarah was addicted to Instagram, constantly posting selfies, outfit pics, and filtered landscapes. The validation was like oxygen to her. And the DMs, those were a whole other level of shady. She'd claim they were just friends from high school, old colleagues, whatever. But the messages were always flirtatious, suggestive. Guys liking her photos within seconds of posting, showering her with compliments. I'd ask about them, and she'd accuse me of being jealous, insecure. Gaslighting 101. Looking back, it's clear those friends were her backup plan, the next potential supply source waiting in the wings. The modern woman's dating app, always searching for an upgrade. The moment of undeniable clarity came on a Tuesday. I was working from home, and she'd left her laptop open on the kitchen counter. I wasn't snooping, I swear. I just went to grab a glass of water. And the screen was right there, displaying a text message. It was from some dude named Chad, and it read, "Can't wait to see you Saturday, winking face. Thinking about last night." The rest of the message was blocked, but the implication was clear. Raw, brutal. It wasn't just flirtation, it was a full-blown affair. The blood drained from my face. Everything clicked into place. The lies, the secrecy, the constant need for validation. The game was over. But I didn't explode. I didn't scream. I didn't even confront her. I just shut down. The next few weeks were a blur of quiet, methodical planning. I contacted a lawyer, filed for divorce, and found a new apartment. I packed my belongings piece by piece, only taking what was rightfully mine. The goal was to disappear, to erase myself from her life as cleanly and efficiently as possible. It was a slow burn, a quiet reclamation of my autonomy. Each box packed, each item moved, was a step further away from her toxicity, a step closer to reclaiming my own life. I wanted her to wake up one day and realize I was gone, vanished without a trace. Which brings me back to the empty apartment, to the silence. I knew I had to grab that hoodie. It was a symbolic gesture, I guess. Taking back what was mine, one last piece of her hold on me. Then, she walked in. Her eyes widened, a flicker of confusion crossing her face before settling into a practiced look of concern. "Hey, babe, where have you been?" The performance began. I just stared at her, the silence stretching between us. "I came for my hoodie," I said, my voice flat. And then she laughed. That high-pitched, brittle laugh that used to make my heart flutter. "You'll never leave me, Mark. You love me too much." The audacity, the sheer delusion. That's when it all unraveled. The color drained from her face as I told her, calmly, about the divorce papers. About the new apartment, about Chad. The performance crumbled. The tears started, the accusations flew. I was a monster. I was ruining her life. How could I do this to her? She sank to the floor. A sobbing mess, pleading with me to stay, promising to change, to be better. "I'll do anything," she wailed, mascara streaking down her face. But I felt nothing. Just a cold, detached indifference. The tears were crocodile tears, a desperate attempt to manipulate me one last time. I grabbed the hoodie, the worn fabric familiar in my hands, and walked out the door. I didn't look back. Walking away, hoodie in hand, a strange sense of clarity washed over me. It wasn't just about Sarah anymore. It was about the whole damn system. The pressure to be the provider, the protector. The stoic rock while she got to be emotionally volatile and expressive. The societal expectation that men should just suck it up and deal with relationship problems, while women are encouraged to seek validation and support from everyone but their partner. It was the realization that modern relationships are often structured in a way that benefits women at the expense of men. That commitment is a one-way street, with men expected to invest everything while women keep their options open. That whole happy wife, happy life bullshit. The red pill was finally kicking in. The anger came later, not at Sarah, but at myself, for being so blind, so naive, so willing to ignore all the flashing red lights. The way she always needed to be the center of attention, the constant fishing for compliments. The subtle digs at my friends and family. I'd brushed it all off as quirky or just her personality. Now, I saw it for what it was. A carefully constructed facade designed to manipulate and control. And I'd fallen for it. Hook, line, and sinker. I'd let her walk all over me, drain my resources, and chip away at my self-respect. The worst part? I'd even defended her behavior to my friends when they tried to warn me. What a fucking idiot I was. And then there were the financial consequences. The career opportunity I'd passed up, now long gone. The money I'd sunk into our future, most of which was now funding her lifestyle. The bitterness simmered. It wasn't just about the money itself. It was about the principle. I'd always been financially responsible, planning for the future, while she lived for the moment, racking up debt and expecting me to bail her out. The unequal contributions, the unspoken expectation that I would always pick up the tab, the resentment that slowly festered beneath the surface, it all added up. I'd been a goddamn ATM. And she treated me like one. The first thing I did was call Mark, my best friend since high school. I told him everything, the whole sordid story, holding nothing back. There were no platitudes. No, I told you SOS. Just a quiet understanding and a few choice words about Sarah that I won't repeat here. Then, a flood of advice. Practical stuff. Like securing my finances and documenting everything for the divorce. And emotional stuff, like focusing on myself and cutting off all contact with her. It was the validation I needed. The confirmation that I wasn't crazy, that I wasn't overreacting, that I'd actually dodged a bullet. Having those male friendships was key to getting my life back on track. Then came the rebuilding. It wasn't easy. The career setback stung, the financial losses were real, and the loneliness was a constant companion. But I channeled that pain into something productive. I doubled down on my work, started investing wisely, and finally pursued that promotion I'd given up years ago. I also embraced solitude, learning to be content on my own, without needing a woman to complete me. I rediscovered old hobbies, started working out, and focused on becoming the best version of myself. It was about reclaiming my life, my time, my energy. About becoming a man on his own terms. Not defined by a relationship. I heard through the grapevine, mutual friends, social media stalking, I admitted, that things weren't going so well for Sarah. The stream of Instagram selfies slowed to a trickle. The designer clothes seemed to disappear. And Chad, the guy from the text message? Apparently, he wasn't interested in a long-term commitment. She bounced from one short-lived relationship to another, each one seemingly more disastrous than the last. I didn't orchestrate any of this, mind you. It was just karma unfolding naturally. The consequences of her actions, the inevitable result of a life built on manipulation and superficiality. It was a cold comfort, but a comfort nonetheless. And that's it. That's the story. No dramatic revenge, no bitter recriminations, just a quiet, dignified exit. I won't pretend I don't think about her sometimes. But it's not with longing or regret. It's with a detached curiosity. Like observing a train wreck from a safe distance. The red pill perspective has given me a sense of closure, a framework for understanding what happened and why. It's allowed me to move on without bitterness, without resentment. To accept that some women are just wired differently, and that trying to change them is a fool's errand. So, yeah. She laughed while saying, "You'll never leave me." And maybe, in her delusional little world, she actually believed it. The irony is, she was right in a way. A part of her, that manipulative, entitled, emotionally stunted part, will always be with me, a constant reminder of what not to look for in a woman. I guess you could say she's my own personal cautionary tale. A walking, talking, crying example of why it's sometimes better to go your own way. And honestly, these days, I wouldn't trade my hoodie or my freedom for anything. The hoodie is back in my closet now, smelling faintly of detergent and me. It's a reminder of how far I've come, a symbol of the lessons I've learned. And every time I put it on, I'm reminded of that empty apartment, that deafening silence, and that look on her face as I walked away. I'm not sure what the future holds, and I'm not actively searching for a relationship. But I know one thing. I'll never again sacrifice my self-respect, my finances, or my happiness for the fleeting illusion of love. I've closed that chapter of my life, and I'm looking forward to writing a new one, defined by self-respect, independence, and a healthy dose of cynical optimism.